I'm Senator Joe Lieberman, and I'm glad you're watching Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to TAPED with Rabbi Doug. We are here for part 3 at AIPAC 18 here at the Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. More politicians, more famous people, more supporters of Israel at this AIPAC 18 convention, the policy conference in Washington, D.C. on TAPED with Rabbi Doug. Stay with us. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley.
To the Castro dictatorship in Cuba. The vote went against us, 191 to 2. The only 2 no votes, you guessed it, were the United States and Israel. I always say quality is more than quantity. Shortly after the 2016 election, President-elect Trump called me to talk about serving in his administration. We had a meeting at Trump Tower, and we had some good discussions about a variety of issues. Long story short, his team called me a couple of days later and said he'd like me to serve as ambassador to the United Nations. I said, I'm a governor. I don't know anything about the United Nations. We went back and forth on a few things, and the clincher was when I told the president, you know, I won't be a wallflower or a talking head. I have to be able to say what I think. Without any hesitation, President Trump said, Nikki, that's exactly why I want you to do this. President Trump has been true to his word, and I think I have too. Some of you might have seen that the top Palestinian negotiator, Saeb Erekat, recently had some advice for me. He told me to shut up. Mr. Erekat, I will always be respectful, but I will never shut up. When I spoke here last year, I had only been on the job a couple months. Now it's a year later, and I know a lot more than I knew a year ago. But as I've learned more about how the UN operates, something else has become really clear. It is important to know as much as possible about every country's needs and views. But that's not the most important part of the job. The most important thing is to not be afraid to stick with the fundamental principles, even when they go against entrenched customs. Some of those outdated customs have gone unquestioned for years. Long before I got to the UN, I I knew a few things that have served me well in this last year. One of those principles is that standing up for your friends is critical. So on my first day on the job, I chose to reach out to ambassadors from 4 countries. I called the British and French ambassadors because they are our closest allies on the Security Council. I called the ambassador from Ukraine because I wanted to reassure him that America would not waver in standing up for Ukraine against Russian aggression. And my 4th call on that first day was to Danny Denon, the Israeli ambassador. Just about a month before I arrived, the United States allowed Resolution 2334 to pass. It was a shameful day for America. We refused to stand up for our friend when it was singled out for terrible mistreatment. On my first day, I assured the Israeli ambassador that on my watch, that would never happen again. I took with me into the job was that I had absolutely no patience for bullying. When I grew up, we were the only Indian family in a small southern town in South Carolina. On the whole, it was a great and friendly community. My parents and my brother and sister and I were always grateful for the support that surrounded us. But that didn't mean every day was great. My parents were immigrants. My father wore a turban. My mother wore a sari. There were times that we got bullied. When I was governor, I did something about it. I started an anti-bullying program. Every month I went to schools throughout the state to talk about bullying. For me, it was just so fundamental. You don't pick on someone just because they look different than you. You don't pick on someone just because they think differently than you, or because you can. This idea has always been with me since I was a child, but I didn't think it'd come to play in the United Nations. It turns out bullying is a common practice in the United Nations. In the real world, Israel is a strong country with a vibrant economy and a first-class military. On the battlefield, Israel does not get bullied. The Iranians and Syrians can vouch for that. There's one more principle I knew before I arrived at the UN. Like most Americans, I knew what the capital of Israel was. To his great credit, was recognize a reality that American presidents had denied for too long. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. That's a fact. And President Trump had the courage to recognize that fact when others would not. Sometime in the future, the day will come when the whole world recognizes that fact. In the meantime, I hope to be there and join our great ambassador, David Friedman. On the day when we open our brand new American embassy in
We're here on Tape with Rabbi Doug, and I'm here with Bill Patterson. He is from Raytheon, program manager, and they are in conjunction with Raphael, and together they are the developers and continuing to develop the Iron Dome program in Israel, which is a missile defense program. Tell me a little bit about how it works and how it got developed to begin with, if you can.
Okay, what I want to tell you first is the fact that we brought this here because the U.S. Army doesn't have any capabilities. Israel is making 10 years ahead. So right here in Raphael, decided to bring Iron Dome capability to the U.S. Army called Sky High.
So the U.S. Army is developing for its own defense systems something very similar.
Something similar, but about 10 years behind.
Specifically,
So we believe there's a chance to use the latest technology in the U.S. industry to the U.S. Army, Marine Corps, Air Force.
Now there is no plan in doing that for once the U.S. is developing such a thing to sell it to other countries like they do other military.
There may be. That's a U.S. decision. But in the meantime, it's the defense of Israel. We still have a defense. That's what right here. And the defense of anybody else who needs a capability like that.
All right. So while you're talking here, I just want to say this model here is a model of the actual type of missile that goes up in defense. Is that correct?
That is correct, but it's not in the model of the missile. So it's what you have here is basically an entire Iron Dome battery. Okay. Iron Dome battery with radar, launcher. The only thing missing is command and control.
And when the Iron Dome, I see that there's 4 different sections in the Iron Dome.
20 missiles. 20
missiles at one time, each time it goes up as a defense?
It could do 1 at a time, it could do 20 at a time.
Very interesting, very interesting. What do you think the success rate is of the Iron Dome program when it comes to missile defense? Like, for example,
about 90%.
90% missiles that have been shot over Israel and Iron Dome has been sent up has brought 90% of them.
That is correct. Now, you don't shoot on every missile. The missiles, the targets that land in areas that you don't hear about, you ignore them. Those that are going toward target,
Well, I want to thank you so much, Bill, for being on the show. Bill Patterson, program manager and part of the Iron Dome missile system development for the United States Army now, and working with Israel. It's an amazing thing. Much success. May all our countries be safe. Thank you. We'll be back here on tape with Rabbi Doug and AIPAC. AIPAC President Warford.
Mr. Vice President, on behalf of AIPAC and its leadership, let me say thank you. Thank you and thank President Trump. For working working to keep Israel safe, and for recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital city. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming back to the AIPAC Policy Conference the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
Thank you, Dr. Friedman. My friend Howard Core, to Ambassador David Friedman, members of the United States Congress, Israeli ministers, members of the Knesset, distinguished guests, to all who have come from near and far, it is great to be back at AIPAC, the largest and most influential gathering of the friends of Israel in the United States of America. And tonight, I bring greetings from a friend of mine and a great friend of the state of Israel, the most pro-life president, the most pro-Israel president in American history, the 45th president of the United States of America. I bring greetings from President Donald Trump. Thanks to the president's leadership, the alliance between America and Israel has never been stronger. The friendship between our peoples has never been deeper. And I stand before you today on his behalf to convey a simple message. America stands with Israel today, tomorrow, and always. During his historic visit to Jerusalem, President Trump declared that the bond between our peoples are, quote, in his words, woven together in the hearts of both nations. And so it is. We stand with Israel because that's what the American people have always done. The people of the United States have always had a special affection and admiration for the people of the book. We stand with Israel because her cause is our cause. Her values are our values. And her fight is our fight. We stand with Israel because we believe in right over wrong, in good over evil, in liberty over tyranny. When I stood before you last March, I told you that President Trump would keep the promises that he made to all of you and to our most cherished ally. And so he has. And tools to defend itself by itself. And today, American support for the security of the state of Israel is greater than ever before. The President promised to take the fight to radical Islamic terrorists on our terms, on their soil. And thanks to the courage of our armed forces and the leadership of this Commander-in-Chief, ISIS is on the run, their caliphate has crumbled, and we will not relent until we drive this menace from the face of the earth. He promised to stand up to the leading state sponsor of terror. President Trump announced in October of last year the United States of America will no longer certify the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Israel might be one of the smallest countries in the world, but it has one of the biggest footprints. Thanks to Israel's Nobel Prize-winning scientists, discoveries and innovations can be found in America's hospitals, our doctors' offices, our grocery stores. Israeli innovation is on our microprocessors, flash drives, smartphones, and so much more. In 70 years, Israel has transformed itself into a fountainhead of innovation and entrepreneurship, producing astounding technological advances in nearly all fields of human endeavor. In a word, Israel is like a tree. It's grown deep roots in the soil of its forefathers, yet as it grows, reaches ever closer to the heavens and gives shade and sustenance to all who seek shelter under it. A living testament to the power of freedom and the power of faith. The miracle of Israel is an inspiration to the world. And the United States of America is proud to stand with Israel and the people as allies and cherished friends. So tonight, I close with faith. Faith in the good people of Israel and America, and in the immutable bonds of friendship between us. Faith in the alliance between our nations, nurtured by President Trump and leaders throughout the Congress in both parties, that have ensured this alliance is stronger now than ever before. And faith in God, that He will yet forge a brighter future where each can sit under their own vine and fig tree, and none shall make them afraid.
Hello, everybody! It is great to be here tonight. I want to thank all of you for being here, great leadership of AIPAC, my friends, Ambassador Haley, Vice President Pence, and all of you. Now, you know I always start off with a story. This is dedicated to my father, who's 94. My father struggled his whole life. He had a small little exterminating business. He paced the floors Sunday nights at 2 a.m. because he hated going to work. But when he retired, my brother, who's the financially successful Schumer, bought them a house in Florida. And every winter they drive from Brooklyn down to Florida. My father never played golf. He took up golf. They'd see their friends who moved there. But as they got older, they ran out of things to do. He couldn't play golf anymore. His legs went bad. Their friends were passing on. So those of you from Florida know that Florida Atlantic University, hello Florida, way down there in the south part of the convention center. Anyway, Florida Atlantic University lets every senior citizen enroll in any course for free. So my dad and mom would roll up to Florida Atlantic University every Thursday at 4 p.m. because they enrolled in the course called humor. Now, what was the course called humor? Some erstwhile comedian who never made it in the Catskills would get up and tell jokes for 45 minutes. A different comedian each week. My dad never went to college. He said, gee, college was pretty easy, I should have. But each week they called me back with their favorite joke. Here's one of the favorites. Mrs. Goldfarb is brought before the judge. The judge rolls his eyes and said, Mrs. Goldfarb, you're back. Yes, Your Honor, I'm back. What did you steal this time, Mrs. Goldfarb? I stole a can of peaches from the supermarket down the road. The judge is exasperated. He says, look, Mrs. Goldfarb, I know you're a kleptomaniac, and I know that this is an illness, and I know you could easily afford a can of peaches. But for Lord's sake, Mrs. Goldfarb, this is the 17th time you've been brought before me for shoplifting this year, and it's only March. I have no choice. I got to sentence you to some time in jail. Now, how many peaches were in the can? Your Honor, there were 4 peaches in the can. And I have no choice. I'm going to sentence you to 4 nights in jail, 1 for each peach. He's about to bang the gavel and pronounce sentence. when in the middle of the courtroom, a man gets up, all agitated. Your Honor, he says, may it please the court, I'm her husband. She also stole a can of peas. So when you all retire, you can go to Delray Beach, roll in the course full humor, and call the Kindle off from back home with your favorite joke. Now, seriously, tonight I want to address the cause that brings us together, the cause of Israel, her security, her prosperity, and her prospects for peace. These issues are all related, but let me begin by addressing the issue of peace. Many wonder, why don't we still have peace in the Middle East? Even though a majority of Israelis want peace and believe, like I do and most of you do, that there should be two states, a Jewish state and a Palestinian state. Now some say, there are some who argue the settlements are the reason there's not peace. But we all know what happened in Gaza. Israel voluntarily got rid of the settlements there. The soldiers, Israeli soldiers, dragged the settlers out of Netzarim, and 3 weeks later the Palestinians threw rockets into Sderot. It's sure not the settlements that are the problem. Some say it's the borders. Oh, Israel wants different borders. But they forget, during the negotiations in 2000, Ehud Barak was making huge territorial concessions that most Israelis didn't like. It was Arafat who rejected the settlement. It's not the borders, neither. It's certainly not because we moved the embassy to where it should belong in Yerushalayim. My view, why we don't have peace. Because the fact of the matter is that too many Palestinians and too many Arabs do not want any Jewish state in the Middle East. You Palestinians, it's simple. Well, the Europeans treated the Jews badly, culminating in the Holocaust, and they gave them our land as compensation. Of course, we say it's our land. The Torah says it. They don't believe in the Torah. So, that's the reason there is not peace. They invent other reasons, but they do not believe in a Jewish state. And that is why we, in America, must stand strong with Israel through thick and thin. We must, because that is the reason, not any of these other false shibboleths, why there is not peace in the Middle East.
Well, that's it for part 3 here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows on the web if you want to email us, info@tvrabbi.com. You won't want to miss our next episode, part 4, here at AIPAC 18 in Washington, D.C., right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. So stay with us. Shalom, everyone.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show. Well, he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need. You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.